Have you ever noticed that making friends as a child seemed almost effortless, but as an adult it feels surprisingly difficult? Think back to when you were at school. You met someone in class. Maybe you played football together. Maybe you sat next to each other during lunch. Maybe your teacher asked you to work together on a project, and somehow, without really trying, you became friends. There was no planning, no checking calendars, no trying to find a day that worked for both of you. Friendship just happened. Welcome back to Beyond English. I'm Imran, and this is Thinking Out Loud, a place where we have meaningful conversations in clear, natural English. So whether you're driving, making breakfast, going for a walk, or simply relaxing, thank you for spending a little part of your day with me. Let's think out loud together. Today's topic is one that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently. Why does making friends become so much harder as we grow older? It's strange, isn't it? As children, we made friends without even thinking about it. But as adults, friendship almost feels like something we have to schedule. I remember when I was younger, it didn't really matter where you came from, what job your parents had, or how much money anyone had. Someone would simply ask, "Do you want to play?" And that was enough. That simple question could begin a friendship that lasted for years. Looking back, there's something quite beautiful about that. Now, think about adulthood. Imagine you move to a new city. You don't know anyone. You start a new job. Every morning, you see the same people. You smile. You say good morning. Maybe you even have lunch together. But months go by, and somehow you still don't feel like you've made a real friend. There's an interesting word we often use here, colleague. A colleague is simply someone you work with. Some colleagues become close friends, but many remain just colleagues, and that's perfectly normal. What about you? When was the last time you made a completely new friend? Not someone you met online, not someone you already knew, but someone who became part of your life. Can you remember, or has it been a while? I sometimes wonder if adult life is simply full. We have work, we have family, we have responsibilities, we have bills to pay, we have houses to clean, we have goals we're trying to reach, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, friendship quietly moves lower and lower on the list. The funny thing is, I don't think most people want fewer friends. I think most people want more connection. We all enjoy those moments when we laugh with someone, when we feel understood, when someone asks us how we're doing, and they genuinely want to know the answer. Those moments make life feel a little lighter. A few months ago, I bumped into someone I hadn't seen for years. We stood there talking for about 10 minutes. We laughed, we remembered old stories, and before we left, we both said exactly the same thing. We should meet for coffee sometime. Have you ever noticed how often people say that? And they mean it. They're being honest, but then life happens. 1 week becomes 2, 2 weeks become 2 months. Before you know it, another year has passed. Maybe that's the biggest difference between childhood and adulthood. As children, time seemed endless. As adults, time feels incredibly valuable. Every hour is already planned. Every weekend seems busy. And because of that, friendship often becomes something we hope will happen instead of something we intentionally make time for. But that raises another interesting question. Is it really about time, or is something else changing as we grow older? Do adults become more careful about who they trust? Do our priorities change? Or have we simply forgotten how easy friendship can begin? Let's think about that together. So, we've talked about how easy friendship felt when we were younger, but now I'd like us to think about something else. Maybe making friends isn't actually harder. Maybe we're different. Think about a child for a moment. Children are curious. They'll walk up to another child in a park and ask, "Do you want to play?" That's it. No overthinking, no worrying about what the other person might think, just a simple question. Now imagine doing that as an adult. You're sitting in a coffee shop. Someone about your age is reading a book. You think, they seem interesting, but do you walk over and introduce yourself? Probably not. Why? What's changed? Let's think about that for a moment. Do adults struggle to make friends because life is busier or because we've become more afraid of being rejected? I'm not sure, but it's an interesting question. As we get older, we become more careful. We don't trust people as quickly. We've all had experiences that have shaped us. Maybe someone disappointed us. Maybe someone broke our trust. Maybe life simply taught us to be a little more cautious. That's a useful word, cautious. If you're cautious, you're careful before making a decision. Being cautious isn't a bad thing, it simply means you want to protect yourself. I think another big difference is this. As children, we had something in common before we even spoke. We were in the same class, we lived in the same neighborhood, we played the same games, we saw each other almost every day. Friendship had time to grow naturally. Imagine planting a small tree. You don't expect it to become big overnight. It needs time, water, sunshine, care. Friendships are a little like that. They grow slowly, but today many of us expect instant connection. Sometimes we meet someone once, and if we don't immediately become close friends, we simply move on. But maybe that's not how meaningful relationships are built. Social media has changed things too. Today we can have hundreds, sometimes even thousands of followers. We can see what people are eating, where they're traveling, what they're buying, but somehow many people still say they feel lonely. Isn't that strange? We have more ways to connect than ever before, yet many people feel less connected. What do you think? Do social media platforms bring people together, or do they sometimes make us feel even more alone? There's probably no perfect answer, but I think it's worth thinking about. One thing I've noticed is that some of my best conversations have happened when phones weren't involved. Sitting over coffee, going for a walk, driving somewhere together, those moments feel different. You're not looking at a screen, you're looking at a person. And maybe that's what friendship really needs. Presence. Presence. That's a beautiful word. It simply means being fully there, giving someone your attention, not thinking about work, not checking your phone, just listening. I think that's becoming more and more valuable today. In a world full of notifications, giving someone your complete attention might actually be one of the greatest gifts you can give. So maybe making friends isn't about meeting more people. Maybe it's about creating deeper connections with the people already around us, our colleagues, our neighbors. The person we see at the gym, the classmate sitting next to us, the familiar face at the coffee shop. But if that's true, what actually turns an ordinary conversation into a real friendship? Let's explore that together. So, we've talked about childhood, we've talked about adulthood, we've talked about why making friends seems more difficult as we grow older, but maybe we've been asking the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, why is it so hard to make friends? Maybe the better question is, what makes a friendship last? Think about the people who are still in your life today. Maybe you've known them for 10 years, maybe 20, maybe even longer. What keeps those friendships alive? Is it luck, or is it something more? When I think about my closest friendships, I realize something. We don't speak every single day. Sometimes we don't even speak every week. Life gets busy. Everyone has responsibilities. But when we do talk, it feels like no time has passed. There's a lovely English expression for that, to pick up where you left off. It means that even after a long time apart, your conversation feels natural again, almost as if you never stopped talking. I think that's one of the signs of a genuine friendship. When we were younger, we often measured friendship by how much time we spent together. But maybe adulthood teaches us something different. Maybe real friendship isn't about seeing someone every day. Maybe it's about knowing that when life becomes difficult, they're there. Imagine two friends. One sends you a message every single day. The other might disappear for a month because life becomes busy. But the moment you need them, they're standing at your front door. Which friendship feels stronger? Sometimes quality matters more than quantity. Let's think about that for a moment. Would you rather have 50 people who know your name or 3 people who truly know who you are? It's an interesting question. I also think something beautiful happens as we become older. We stop looking for perfect friends, and we start appreciating real people. People who are kind, people who listen, people who make us laugh, people we can be ourselves around. I've realized that some of the best conversations I've ever had weren't planned. They happened after work, over a cup of coffee, during a long drive, or while walking somewhere together. Those conversations weren't special because of where they happened. They were special because of how they made me feel. So maybe if you're listening today and you've been feeling a little lonely, or you've been wondering why making friends seems harder than it used to, I'd like to remind you of something. You're not the only one. Millions of adults around the world are wondering exactly the same thing. Maybe this week, send that message you've been meaning to send, call someone you haven't spoken to in a while, invite someone for coffee, ask a colleague how their weekend was, and really listen to the answer. Friendship doesn't always begin with a life-changing conversation. Sometimes it begins with something as simple as, "How have you been?" And perhaps that's one of the reasons language is so powerful. English isn't just about grammar, or vocabulary, or pronunciation. Language helps us connect. It helps us tell our stories. It helps us understand people whose lives are completely different from our own. And maybe that's exactly what we're doing here on Beyond English. Before we finish today, I'd like you to think about one person. Someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, someone who made you laugh, someone who was there for you when you needed them. Maybe after this episode, you'll send them a message. You never know, one small conversation might be the beginning of reconnecting with someone important. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think making friends is harder today than it was 10 or 20 years ago? Or do you think friendship has simply changed? Let me know in the comments below. I read every comment, and I always enjoy hearing your perspective. If today's conversation gave you something to think about and helped you improve your English at the same time, I'd love for you to join me again. Here on Thinking Out Loud, we explore meaningful ideas through clear, natural English. So if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and come back for our next conversation. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. Until next time, take care of yourself, make time for the people who matter, keep listening, keep learning, and thank you for thinking out loud with me.